Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Have you ever noticed a strange, quiet pattern among the aging abusers in your life? The ones who seemed entirely invincible, untouchable by the rules of humanity, suddenly breaking down in the most mysterious, agonizing ways? Today, we are exploring a chilling biological reality. We are answering why their aging bodies inevitably become a magnet for severe, deadly diseases. We are taught to believe that health issues in old age are just a normal, random part of the human experience. You watch them slowly wither away, surrounded by doctors and endless pill bottles, and you might even feel a sudden pang of guilt or pity. But what if their sudden physical decay isn't just bad luck? What if it is a highly specific, undeniably profound biological reckoning? Think about the massive, suffocating amount of pure, toxic stress they have manufactured over the decades. You felt the crushing weight of it when you were in their presence. Your nervous system was completely hijacked, stuck in a terrifying state of survival. But here is the secret they never wanted you to know. They were marinating in that exact same toxic cortisol their entire lives. To understand this terrifying phenomenon, you have to look past the surface of medicine. A narcissist does not process negative emotions like a normal human being. They don't grieve, they don't reflect, and they certainly never truly repent. Instead, they violently suppress every ounce of their shame, shoving it deep into the dark, hidden basement of their own subconscious mind. And that deeply suppressed psychological garbage doesn't just evaporate. It sits there, heavy and suffocating. It silently ferments. God and the universe designed the human body to release pain through tears, vulnerability, and genuine connection. When a predator actively refuses to participate in that natural healing process, their physical vessel eventually has to absorb the massive hit. Have you ever wondered what happens to a human nervous system that spends 50 years scanning the room for threats, plotting revenge, and maintaining a totally fake reality? It short-circuits. The intense paranoia required to sustain a lifelong mask of superiority is incredibly exhausting. Their immune system is perpetually under attack from their own deeply disordered, chaotic thoughts. It almost feels like a forbidden topic, doesn't it? We are rarely allowed to draw a straight line between a person's malicious character and their eventual physical collapse. But the evidence is right there, hidden in plain sight. They spend their entire lives poisoning the pure souls around them, entirely unaware that the most concentrated dose of that poison was staying right inside them. Today, we are pulling back the heavy curtain on this fascinating, deeply satisfying cosmic justice. We are going to meticulously break down the exact timeline of how a malignant mind physically destroys its own host. Prepare yourself to look directly at the raw, undeniable reality of what happens when the universe finally forces a predator to physically carry the weight of their own sins. Are you truly ready to shatter the terrifying illusion of their untouchable power? It is time to step out of the heavy fog of your historical trauma and actively witness the bleak, inescapable reality of their biological punishment. Let us begin this intense, deep dive into exactly why the fiercely arrogant abuser is now facing a catastrophic, completely unexplainable medical nightmare. The dynamic is flipping right before your very eyes. The untouchable predator is now a terrified, sickly prisoner, trapped in a biological cage constructed by their own absolute malice. You are no longer their emotional punching bag. You are the divinely protected witness to their inescapable, physical ruin. Welcome to the terrifying, undeniable reality of absolute somatic justice. To truly grasp why their bodies are actively failing, you must first brutally dissect the deeply flawed psychology of the abuser. The narcissist lacks a solid, authentic internal core. They function purely as an empty, parasitic shell mimicking human life. To survive, they have to constantly extract vital life force from innocent, highly empathetic targets. They feed on your pure energy. But living as a human parasite comes with a massive, hidden biological cost. Imagine driving a car at top speed, constantly grinding the gears, never changing the oil, and violently crashing into everything in your path. For decades, they have treated their own physical bodies with the exact same reckless, arrogant disregard. They truly believed they were gods, entirely immune to wear and tear. Look closely at their emotional baseline. A normal person experiences joy, peace, and quiet contentment. The narcissist only experiences brief flashes of manic grandiosity, immediately followed by profound, suffocating rage or crushing emptiness. This constant, violent emotional whiplash absolutely shreds their central nervous system. Their heart and veins are soaking in chronic adrenaline. This is where the visceral, undeniable reality of their sickness truly begins. The human body is a miraculous, deeply intuitive record keeper. It meticulously logs every single lie, every calculated betrayal, and every moment of intense, suppressed shame. They thought they were successfully fooling the entire world. They completely forgot that their own cellular structure was taking notes. Think of their repressed shame as a highly radioactive material. They refuse to process it, so they swallow it whole. Day after day, year after year, this dark, toxic sludge accumulates in their organs, their joints, and their blood. They are essentially hoarding decades of unacknowledged emotional trauma. And eventually, that highly toxic waste dump violently breaches containment. You watch them project their sickness onto you. They called you crazy, unstable, and weak. They tried to physically offload their toxic waste into your beautiful, empathetic spirit. But when you finally walked away and established your ironclad boundaries, that heavy poison had absolutely nowhere else to go. It forcefully rebounded right back into their own corrupt, decaying vessel. Notice how their illnesses are rarely straightforward. It is almost always a mysterious autoimmune issue, a strange, creeping neuropathy, or a sudden, catastrophic failure of the heart. The body is literally attacking itself. And why wouldn't it? Their entire psychological framework is built on self-deception and internal warfare. Their biology is simply mirroring their deeply broken mind. They are deeply terrified of this internal rebellion. A narcissist demands absolute, unquestioning control over their environment. When their own body suddenly refuses to comply, the psychological panic is intense and completely consuming. They realize, with absolute horror, that they cannot manipulate, gaslight, or charm a deadly disease. The illness simply does not care about their ego. Underneath the arrogant, untouched mask, they are severely haunted by the terrifying fear of complete, permanent physical decay. It is the absolute, most agonizing terror residing within their dark core. They realize their physical attractiveness and intimidating energy, their primary weapons of manipulation, are permanently slipping away. They are being stripped naked by the hands of time. Their heavily corrupted internal machine is entirely breaking down under the massive, exhausting amount of psychological energy required to survive their own lies. They are entirely trapped in a vicious, terrifying cycle of unexplainable physical deterioration, desperately chasing a fleeting illusion of dominance while actively, undeniably rotting from the inside out. The bill is finally due. The dramatic, entirely inescapable turning point arrives the exact moment they receive the undeniable medical diagnosis. They sit in that cold, sterile doctor's office, expecting the usual preferential treatment. But the doctor delivers the heavy, terrifying truth with absolute clinical detachment. The illness is severe. It is chronic. And it is completely out of their manipulative control. You can almost hear the deafening crack of their fragile ego violently splitting in half. The narcissist instantly launches into a state of chaotic, aggressive denial. They furiously demand a second opinion. They violently accuse the medical professionals of gross incompetence. They absolutely refuse to accept that a mere biological disease could dare to challenge their supreme, godlike authority. But the disease does not flinch. And then it hits them. Just like that, the sudden, terrifying realization that their ultimate, impenetrable armor has a massive, fatal breach. The rich, emotional fuel they use to easily extract from their victims cannot be used to bribe this new, invisible enemy. The deadly illness is the one adversary they cannot smear, silent treat, or quickly discard. This is the psychological plot twist they absolutely never saw coming. They spent their entire lives meticulously building a heavily fortified castle to protect their fake image, entirely unaware that the most dangerous assassin was already locked inside the walls with them. Their own biology has staged a massive, highly successful coup. The absolute master of control is now totally helpless. In a sudden, incredibly desperate panic, they attempt to violently weaponize their new illness. The mysterious disease rapidly morphs into a chaotic, entirely unmanageable crisis. They furiously try to restart their psychological supply engine by playing the tragic, dying victim. They broadcast their pain to anyone who will listen, desperately demanding the pity they never once showed to you. But something entirely unexpected happens. The loyal enablers and heavily manipulated family members finally begin to experience severe compassion fatigue. The endless cycle of mysterious emergencies and dramatic medical complaints entirely drains the empathy of anyone left in their dark orbit. People instinctively start pulling away from the heavy, suffocating aura of the toxic, dying predator. This absolute, unwavering withdrawal of attention acts as a devastating psychological mirror, violently reflecting their pathetic, sickly insignificance right back at them. The sudden realization that they have permanently lost their grip on their audience triggers a massive, highly acute mental collapse. They are violently forced to fully confront the terrifying death of their earthly control. They fiercely launch desperate, frantic hoovering attempts toward you, aggressively hoping your pure, highly empathetic nature will force you back to their bedside. They want you to sacrifice your beautiful healing to nurse the very monster that broke you. But these vicious, transparent tactics completely fail. You look at their frantic texts with chilling, unshakable, absolute indifference. Your total, unwavering emotional detachment acts as the final, highly devastating, lethal blow. The realization that absolutely no one will miraculously save them pushes their internal panic into rapid, severe overdrive. The chaos that ensues within their deeply corrupted, fragmented mind is intensely visceral and entirely consuming. The heavy, dark spell is permanently broken by cold reality. The magnificent, highly empowering twist of this dark narrative is finally fully revealed. The exact arrogance they aggressively weaponize to destroy innocent lives has become the exact, undeniable catalyst for their final, absolute biological undoing. They defied the ultimate laws of human decency so completely that their own body forcefully turned against them in a terrifying, poetic justice. The psychological and physical collapse now aggressively enters its final, darkest, and completely irreversible phase. The narcissist's daily life rapidly becomes a pathetic, deeply agonizing series of profound bodily failures. The people around them are instinctively repelled by their dark, heavy, intensely rotting aura. They are universally recognized as deeply cursed, highly toxic beings. They experience a total, horrifying, and complete fragmentation of their fabricated, heavily protected false reality. The carefully constructed public mask violently shatters into millions of unrecoverable, deeply jagged pieces. The fake, arrogant confidence is violently replaced by a crippling, deeply paranoid, and entirely inescapable fear of absolute, collective human judgment and mortality. This is the sudden, brutal, and completely absolute death of the toxic network. It is a profound, agonizing psychological obliteration. They become entirely unrecognizable from the arrogant, untouchable predator who once brutally tormented you without mercy. They are severely hollowed out, incredibly empty vessels trapped in agonizing terror as their own disease aggressively continues to eat them. They desperately try to retreat further into absolute, suffocating isolation, attempting to hide their pathetic, undeniable physical deterioration from the unforgiving, highly observant eyes of the world. Their profound paranoia becomes their entire pathetic universe. The terrifying, heavy silence of their lonely sickbed rapidly becomes a personalized, inescapable, dark psychological torture chamber. Notice their complete, devastating, and entirely permanent lack of genuine spiritual peace. A true, resilient empath, even in the deepest, most agonizing pain, can eventually find profound moments of pure stillness and quiet grace. The collapsed, exiled abuser will absolutely never know this comfort. Their internal mental landscape is a perpetually burning, deeply fatal, entirely toxic wasteland. The severe social consequences they inevitably face are brutally, intensely unforgiving. The shallow flying monkeys who once heavily supported the dark, abusive reign are now frantically abandoning the sinking ship. The abuser is forcefully made to face the harsh, undeniable truth. Their entire life was built on disgusting lies, and now they have absolutely no genuine love to comfort their pain. The toll of this massive spiritual collapse is deeply horrifying to witness. The constant, agonizing stress of maintaining their fragile delusions while being universally hated entirely ravages their sick mind. They look completely hollow, deeply exhausted, and incredibly paranoid. The rapidly decaying outer shell perfectly reflects the intensely dark, rotting corruption hiding right inside them. There is a profound, undeniable, and cinematic justice in this horrific, sudden physical collapse. It is a terrifying, absolute testament to the universal, unbreakable law of spiritual gravity. You absolutely cannot constantly exploit and attack the innocent children of the universe without eventually burning your own world entirely alive. The massive cosmic debt has finally come due in full. They are entirely brutally forced to witness you safely moving on with your beautiful, divinely protected life. Even from afar, the undeniable glow of your genuine, hard-won healing deeply penetrates their dark, pathetic isolation. Seeing the empath beautifully thrive while they are universally despised and biologically destroyed is the final, crushing blow. It proves they were the sickness. The tragic, unavoidable end of the fiercely defined abuser is a chilling spectacle of total cosmic destruction. They laid cruel traps and burned entire bridges, only to realize too late they locked themselves inside a burning biological prison. The brutal, disgusting destruction they originally intended for your pure soul became the exact blueprint for their entirely inescapable, fatal ruin. You must absolutely, firmly, and permanently stop carrying the heavy burden of their inevitable, tragic physical destruction. The profound empathy you possess is a sacred, beautiful gift, even if it was maliciously weaponized by a dark soul. Do not waste a single, precious drop of pity on the collapsing, miserable abuser. Their absolute ruin is a fully justified, highly natural biological consequence. Recognize the absolute, unshakable, and completely glorious truth right now. You did not cause their deadly disease. You simply, bravely stopped allowing them to violently infect your beautiful spirit in silence. By establishing your ironclad boundaries and permanently stepping away, you merely allowed their deeply disgusting, toxic loyalty to finally consume them in the harsh, unforgiving light. Your essential, beautiful journey right now is about intense, unapologetic, and fierce spiritual reclamation. Every single agonizing tear you shed in the dark was deeply watering the vital seeds of your ultimate, unbreakable psychological armor. The deep pain was horrific, but it forged a magnificent version of you that is completely impervious to their sick, desperate manipulation and terminal darkness. The abuser's tragic, sudden biological downfall is your absolute, undeniable, and completely permanent spiritual liberation. As their false, fragile reality violently crumbles to ash, your authentic, beautiful life is finally allowed to spectacularly blossom. The heavy, suffocating, highly toxic fog they forcefully placed over your brilliant mind is lifting permanently and entirely forever. You are free. Do not look back at the horrifying, pathetic wreckage they have finally, undeniably become. The collapsing, deeply despised predator wants absolutely nothing more than to violently drag you down into the dark abyss of their karma. Let them completely thrash in the absolute dark. Let them drown in the terrifying silence of their empty, pathetic, universally hated, and entirely, highly diseased dark soul. This profound, secret spiritual knowledge is your ultimate, impenetrable, and incredibly glorious shield. By deeply understanding the pathetic, incredibly fragile nature of their severe, hidden cosmic pathology, you entirely strip them of all their remaining phantom power. They are absolutely not a powerful god. They are a deeply disgusting, dying entity spiraling rapidly toward a highly dark, fatal end. Your incredible, beautiful survival is the greatest, most profound rebellion against their severe, highly calculated abuse. They desperately wanted you permanently destroyed, completely silenced, and totally dependent on their false, dark reality. By fiercely choosing to heal, by daring to genuinely thrive, you completely annihilate their entire sinister purpose. Your brilliant, radiant joy is pure justice. The highly toxic, dangerous connection is permanently, utterly, and brilliantly severed by the ultimate hands of the universe. You are absolutely no longer their emotional or physical punching bag. You are a sovereign, magnificent survivor, glowing brilliantly with a renewed, entirely untouchable light. The deep scars you carry are profound battle wounds signifying your true, undeniable human resilience. As the broken narcissist rapidly fades into total, miserable public obscurity, slowly rotting away in the horrifying prison of their own diseased body, you are beautifully beginning to rise. The intense contrast is deeply poetic and absolutely, perfectly just. You are safely ascending into a spectacular life of genuine joy, while they sadly choke on their own bitter, toxic, extremely dark, and fatal ashes. You completely survive the absolute psychological and spiritual slaughter. You bravely unmasked the terrifying monster, fiercely held your ground, and successfully watched their grand illusion burn straight to the ground. They utterly destroyed themselves by attacking the pure and innocent. Walk forward knowing your brilliant light remains entirely untouched, because a rotting soul can never eclipse the sun.